How to read a coffee label, what's on them, what isn't on them, and what you need to know. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to Coffeeshop Vibes. Welcome to Ispirare Coffee. Did you know there's some secrets on a coffee label? Well, not really. There's a lot of straightforward stuff, I would say. Some things are on them, some things are not on them. They can be confusing, maybe, but they're a heck of a lot less confusing than, let's say, a French bottle wine. I'm going to dive into what's on a coffee label right now. First off, guys, hey, happy holidays wherever you are. Appreciate you watching the show. Secondly, this will be the final show of the year. So for everyone who's watched or just watched bits and pieces, hey, thank you so much. It means a lot. For those of you who are new, please consider subscribing. And finally, if you ever want to support our little channel, the backstory is my wife and I, we took our love and passion of coffee, and a few years ago, right at the start of the pandemic, we opened our county's first specialty coffee house. And not only are we making good coffee and making drinks and explaining to people the processes and the intricacies and the nuances of specialty coffee, we're also helping revitalize our small town here in Western PA. The best way to support the channel, though, and encourage me to do more videos, is to buy bags of our coffee, which I'll put a link in the first description, or first comment. All right, so here we go, guys. What's on a coffee label? What isn't on a coffee label? I thought I had more bags of coffee, but I have this great even Spanish bag of coffee here from the Dominican in Spanish, and there's still certain things on here that you'll know. First off, this is very, very important. All coffee labels or all coffee bags should say one thing: how much they weigh, right? 12 ounces, 340 grams of coffee is pretty much standard on all bags of coffee. 12 ounces, 340 grams, and 12 ounces of coffee. So yes, that's going to be standard on every coffee label, no matter what. Now, there'll be one difference though. There'll be a difference if you buy coffee maybe in a supermarket or through a third-party retailer than what you might get in a small specialty coffee shop like ours. There's some things that might or might not be on the bag. You should also know that there's no governing body. It's not like I said, the wine industry, where each nation has their own standards and labels and whatever to verify different things. So there's none of that in the coffee industry. You essentially could put on anything on a bag of coffee. The second thing that should be on there, I think at least in the United States, is where the coffee was roasted or produced. Right here you can see Dawson Taylor, their address here in Boise, Idaho. And then here, even in the Dominican, you can see their address in San Rafael. All right, so two things will definitely be on it: the weight. Now, most bags of coffee, any bags at a specialty coffee shop, they're going to be 12 ounces 99% of the time. Sometimes specialty shops will do 1 pounders. You don't see that too often. They'll almost always do 5 pounders, but you'll see in a bag typically 12 ounces, 340 grams, occasionally 1 pounder. So that will be on there, the weight, especially if it's sold in a supermarket or store, and then where it actually was roasted. Just in case there's anything wrong with it, we need to know how to get back to the person. All right, so beyond that, everything else is kind of fair game. But there's some things to help you on the way, right? A lot of times coffee will say where they're from. This one here, though, says a blend of Indonesia and South America. Means this is our espresso blend. We used to say, but we do not say anymore where it's from. And this is a single origin. Some coffees, like our Ugandan, obviously it's from a very specific co-op in Uganda, and it's named Ugandan, so you kind of get a better idea of where it's from. Now, there's some reasons why a coffee roaster wouldn't want to put that on. I found that out this year when so many, and this actually happened, multiple people made up stories to said they're from, this New York, and they're trying to buy coffee, and they want to know everything about my coffee and what I put in all the blends. And, you find out they're starting a coffee company in, another state. It's crazy. I can't believe that. Well, I'm humbled, by the way. But so there's some reasons why, our Allegheny blend, which some other people use in their product, we don't really like to share the bean blend on that. Though I'll tell you where the countries are from, but I don't have specific, towns. A lot of the single origins we do, I'll say, we'll do a big thing. It's from this farm. Here's a picture of the farmer. Here's the honey processing taking place in the coffee. So it varies. If it's not on there, that doesn't mean anything specific. It just means that they, for whatever reason, it's probably a blend and they don't want to share. If it's a single origin, it will almost always have the location of the coffee. This is, like I said, this one here is very discreet: Indonesia and South America. All right, So beyond that, sometimes you also see this MASL, which is meters above sea level. This is very big range, 1,000 to 2,000. So you know, this is very important. And what's standing out to me in the coffee industry, I try coffees, a lot of coffees, obviously. I have another channel called Espresso Mike where I review espressos. And sometimes you'll see, especially from Ethiopia, some countries that are known to have very high grown coffee, Colombia, that they'll say like 1,800 meters or above. Typically, I did a whole video on this as well, check that one out, that altitude or elevation actually enhances the flavor of coffee. It can, in the right conditions, it's really ripe to increase the flavors, floral flavors, fruity flavors of coffee that you'll get like in Ethiopia or some places in South America at high altitude. So in some cases, especially single origin, or if you're looking for a more exotic coffee, the meters above sea level will matter. If you want a more richer, darker, chocolatey coffee, that doesn't matter as much, although any Arabica is really going to be grown above 3,000 meters. This is going way above 3,000 or 3,000 feet above 1,000 meters. So MSL is actually quite informative if you like more acidic coffees, more, like I said, more exotic, more fruit-forward coffees. MSL will mean a lot, especially when it comes to single origin coffees. Now, if it's being sold in a grocery store, it will have a date. This one's been sitting around because it's already ground 6/29. Oh, so I know not to drink it, use this coffee right now. But typically, actually, if they're in a store, a third-party store, sometimes you'll see a date. If they're in a coffee shop like ours, we go through so much coffee, we actually sell it probably before we should. The prime time for drinking coffee is about 10 to 20 days after roasting. And then I always say whole beans should last you pretty much close to 60 days as long as they're stored right without any real noticeable flavor. If you're a professional coffee grader, you'll probably want to try that coffee really right around the 16 to 20 day range after roasting. A lot of times they're off the shelf 6 days later here, so because we're just a small operation. Now, any barista or any local coffee shop will be able to tell you that. You know, sometimes you'll see it, you don't see it on this bag here. But long story short, if it's in a supermarket, I would suggest checking to see if it has a date on it, because like I said, if it's over 2 months old, you probably don't want to buy that coffee unless you're going to drink it all like that day or something. So, or you probably don't want to buy that coffee, let's be honest. So keep that in mind. Finally, coffee shops do a great job of saying what flavors are in the coffee. Some of them have little tidbits how to make the coffee. Some of them share a little story, like this is from the Dominican, but there's actually some English on it that says, "We are islanders at heart. We believe in savoring the small joys of life and sharing a good breakfast. All of our processes are artisan craft for your unique, local, and fair coffee." You know, we use fair trade coffee. It says on the bags here, you'll see things like our Facebook and our Instagram, our website. Thanks for your support. Our mission in town. It has the word Kittanning on it. I think it's like the only product you can get from Kittanning. But long story short, they'll have some of those cute little notes about the shop or about the company. And a lot of times they'll actually say have a really good profile. And I've always found that the profile they say is pretty much spot on. This one from Dawson Taylor, very smooth, rich, producing dark golden crema, outstanding for both espresso and drip coffee. That's a pretty good description of an espresso blend. Now, a lot of single origins will say orange or blueberry. If you're in Ethiopia, you'll see blueberry a lot, raspberry, things like that. And those tasting notes, strawberry, are pretty common on bags of coffee. So you'll see good tasting notes, and typically you will taste those flavors if you try. So I've always thought that coffee shops, and I've tried coffee from specialty coffee roasters in every state in America. I've always thought they've been good with their descriptions. All right, guys. So the only two things you'll see in wrapping this up will be the weight and probably the location that it's roasted or produced. You should see tasting notes because it's a selling feature. You might or might not see a roasting date. Don't be turned off by that. If it's at a local coffee shop, it's probably super fresh and it probably moves too quick where that's not relevant. But if it's in a supermarket, I would make sure you do. And if you're a coffee connoisseur and you really want a very specific type of coffee, check out the meters above sea level or elevation. That might make a difference as well. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a happy new year, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year. This is our last long form video of the year, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Live inspired.